Welcome. Another episode of Spencer Uncensored, episode 67. What? Yeah, we've been doing this over a year now. And so today is a different lineup, different setup. Actually, this is the exact same place I'm at every week. The difference is I'm not doing it through Zoom. I'm actually here physically on the native inside the Facebook app, which is fine. It just, you get to see things like my wild sketching. I did all of that, by the way, one day when I was get your creative juices flowing. Took it out on the back deck, had a cigar, sitting out there, just started writing and whiteboarding. If you've never whiteboarded before your ideas, it's kind of like doing a mind map, and super useful. So this is a lot of what's coming down the pipeline, and it helps me stay kind of like what's going on, right? And I have a rap sheet to keep everything together, but this is one of the ways to kind of keep things moving around. That's not digital. So anyway, different setup. For some reason, it wouldn't allow me to stream from Zoom. I like doing it there just because it has a cleaner look, and also it records differently and all that kind of jazz. But no worries. I will work through this. I appreciate you that are here. What's happening? New Jersey's in the house. Cool. All right, guys. Well, let's get into this conversation. I'm going to, it's probably just another short one, and this is what it's turned into being. But I want to lean in on a couple things, but primarily the conversation around drive. We've talked about it a couple times, and the way this is beginning to unfold for itself or develop for itself has been super powerful because we're cleaning it up, because now we're doing more and more master classes. We're scheduling them different places, getting ready to work on possibly doing a 2-day boot camp. Maybe, hey, by the way, I would love to have your feedback on whether or not, as a business leader, would you prefer a 7-week situation, right? So like 2 hours for 7 weeks, or just cut everything out and sit in a room for 2 days, basically, right? So 2 8-hour days or so, knock it all out all at one time. There's advantages to both, by the way. There's advantages to doing it, spreading it out over 7 weeks, because if you've ever done any of this Unshakable Framework stuff and you start going through the pieces and the modules, you'll start learning that some of this stuff you need to kind of set with and implement and work on, and then go to the next step, because it kind of changes along the way. And so it has its value doing it that way. And then you've got the 2-day setup. It's much more immersive. It's much more intensive. You can cut out the rest of the world and just stay focused. And you can also get a lot of work done that way. So there's a couple of advantages to doing it both ways. And we may actually do it both ways, maybe online over 7 weeks, but in person, 2-day boot camp. The 2-day boot camp is going to be a lot more intimate. And so it would cost more, but plus I have to have more expenses. But anyway, the whole Unshakable Framework can radically shift the way you do things, simply because you have a system or understanding where what are the missing pieces, right? What's the broken system along the way? And when you understand mindset, mechanics, and movement, and then you see the interrelationships, I can tell you right now that there's 4 patterns that arise from it, right? So if you're completely frustrated, right, because there's a group of you that are frustrated, it's possible. You see other people do it. It's just a possible thing. And so you're out here grinding, but for some reason you can't seem to get any traction. If that's you, then you need to lean heavily into the mechanics. I already know this because I've been studying it for so long. So if you know that, then we focus in on the 5 pieces of mechanics: the outcomes, the specifics on the standards, and as far as like benchmarks, and then benchmarks, and then we focus in on your resources, and resource management. Then we focus in on your processes, and then we focus in on your feedback loop. So if you're frustrated, that's the thing we need to work on with you. And that's when you know that, especially if you got a large team, you got people around you, and you're leading. Knowing that allows you to do this with surgical precision. No one has the time to be hanging out and shooting in the dark about your personal progress in the business, right? Maybe you're not frustrated. Maybe you're just burning out. Maybe you got like, hey, look, Spencer, I've had success in the past. I have done well with this. I understand the game. For some reason, I'm just burning out, and I'm keep hitting the glass ceiling. I can't get any farther than that. I know that with you, it's a mindset conversation. We've got to focus on the mindset to get you much more to center. And when we do that, and we start honing in on the 5 pieces of the mindset, we start talking about commitments. What is your commitment? What's the outcome that we're after? It's powerful, right? So commitment. And then we start talking about focus. What is your focus? How are you focusing? And we go into depth with that, because there's different types of focus. People are like, what? There's different types? Yeah, there's different kinds of focus, right? Then there's the beyond focus. Then you've got accountability, understanding what that actually looks like, not from the traditional sense of the word. And then we go into beliefs, specifically faith kind of beliefs, right? Long range beliefs. How do we tap into that? And then the last piece of that is flexibility. So if you're stuck, or you're feeling like you're just not necessarily stuck, but you're doing the things, but you just can't seem to get out of a rut, then it's a conversation around mindset. Understanding this is extremely powerful, because now you can put your resources there instead of always shotgunning everything, right? Maybe that's not you. Maybe you're not frustrated. Maybe you're not feeling, burning out. Maybe you just feel completely stagnant. You're like, dude, I get it. I know it's possible. Matter of fact, I see people. Matter of fact, I encourage other people to go out and make it happen. And I know all the process, right? I have conversations with a lot of people that are doing this, business leaders that are kind of like, I just can't seem to get myself up and going. What you're probably missing is movement. And you're like, well, no shit, Spencer. That's what I'm telling you. I'm not moving. Well, but understanding the difference between a drifter and a driver, and getting into that piece of the mechanics and going from drift to drive, and then actually creating what we call a compelling future, boom, suddenly you can start making movement. And I want to tell, there's a couple of stories where this is concerned, because this seems to be a little bit of a consistent conversation. I think, because I have a lot of conversations with real estate agents a lot, but they're not all real estate. But the real estate folks are starting to have this, what's going to happen here because of all these changes that are coming down the pipeline for them. And when you look at that, they start to wonder, what am I supposed to be doing? And sometimes your brain will just go ahead and shut down, right? So you fight, flight, freeze, or fawn, right? And a lot of people are going into that freeze. They're just, we're just going to kind of wait and see. That's drifting. That's not driving. And so I'm having conversations. I got 2 of them I'm thinking about right now. One is an agent who's been in the business for quite a while. I think she's 8-10 years, somewhere in there. And just going through the initial primer process that we call it, through practical planning, just going through that alone has changed her trajectory altogether. And I'm almost certain she's going to do really, really well, right? But we had to get her in gear going through the process of movement. Because the movement module, by the way, is all about creating momentum. And then once you get the momentum in place, it naturally leads into purpose, which is the bottom base block for all the other things that we talk about. So if you don't have any purpose or a commitment to an outcome, you're going to struggle. That's just going to be the case, right? So if there's an issue with movement, not taking movement, then we just get into that and figure out what parts of the drifter versus driver, which one are you in, and how do we get you in drive? I said this to a young man earlier, I think sometime in the last 3 or 4 days. It was more of a relationship conversation, right? And the relationship is kind of like stagnant. It's not going anywhere. And so I said, look, first of all, you need to get your head out your ass. But 2, what are your dreams? What do you want to do? Like, what do you want to do with yourself, right? And getting someone to start going from the drifter to the driver starts with the dream. But here's a shortcut to all of that conversation, if you've ever listened to me before. Drive happens when your dream and your decisions align. I'm going to repeat that. When your dreams and your decisions align. Your decisions are going to be completely tied to the pain or the desperation, and so you choose to take action. Your dreams are completely all about inspiration. And so when your inspiration and your desperation align themselves, boom, we got something cataclysmic that causes you to move forward. You become a driver. If you're too much into the dream, you're going to have this strong sense of desire all the time. Without the decision, it's just going to be constant inspiration and nowhere, and you're not actually driving. You're still drifting. It's a form of drift. Whereas if you're constantly in a state of disturbance because you're always making decisions and you keep doing and working and changing and doing and frustrated and desperation and all that kind of stuff without a dream, without a direction, you're just going to constantly stay in a perpetual state of disturbance. How do you go from drift to drive? You got to become a driver. And the way to do that is to go through all of that. And we've talked about this a couple times. You're more than welcome to go back into the history and watch the stuff that we talked about, drift to drive. It has consistently evolved itself over the week. We got a long ways into the book, the new book, by the way. Unshakable Drive is going to get put on a back burner because what I'm doing now is zooming out so that the momentum and mastery both are being covered all in one big book so that I can just have the quick and dirty version of the whole framework. And then we can start going into individual pieces as we go. If you're not frustrated and you're not burning out and you're not stagnant, then the only other pattern you're in is the unshakable pattern. If you're in that pattern because your mindset, mechanics, and movement are all lined up, then you're probably coming to a program like this. You're coming to an unshakable boot camp. You're coming to one of these master classes and so on because you value your time and you are impatient. Your intention is to speed time up. Maybe everything is working and you just know there's some adjustments you can make to scale at even faster rate, even stronger rate. If that's you, then there's something here for you too. What I want to challenge everyone today to think about is, where am I? If I'm feeling frustrated, we need to deploy mechanics. If I'm feeling burned out, then I need to deploy the mindset. If I'm feeling stagnant, I need to deploy movement. Because stagnant people, by the way, have the mindset and the mechanics, but for some reason they're not acting, right? So all of those pieces have to be considered to have unshakable progress. The new working title is Momentum and Maintenance, Momentum and Mastery, the business leader's guide to unshakable progress. Yeah. So if you're feeling impatient, Dan, then the conversation is wealthy people versus not wealthy people. Let's say the average, right? The average person is going to spend time saving money, while wealthy people are going to spend money to save time. And so they come to a program like this, they pay for it because they understand I'm going to get a small piece, I'm going to get something that's going to make the difference, provided that they apply all of it and really do the hard work of digging into it. So all that being said, folks, I'm excited about the trajectory and what's going on. I actually am very impatient right now. And if you ever thought for a second it was like, hey, you know what? I'd love to be a coach. I'd love to go out here and create stuff. Look, if you think that's easy, I'm here to tell you it is not. I spent an hour with tech support earlier working on an email issue with DMARC and all this kind of stuff. I talked to you guys about that last week. It's still an issue, and they're rechanging all kinds of things, right? Meanwhile, I'm over here writing this book, and then on top of writing the book, I've got I'm finishing out the real estate reset. I'm scheduling for we've talked more about some details for Charlotte, North Carolina. We're definitely going to go there on June the 8th. We're just going to they're firming up a location for us now. We're going to have more of these. And by the way, if you're hearing this and you're like, you know what, I'd love to have you, Spencer. I mean, how much is it going to cost me? Listen to me. Reach out to me, because you're going to find out it'll put more money in your pocket than you can imagine. I know that's big words, but I'm dead serious. People pay me $8,000 for the year, and I guarantee you they make more than $80,000, 10x more when they started with me. If that was their original intent. Some people, that's not their goal. But in any event, some people are looking to, they want to double their business working the same amount of time, or they want to work half the time and make the same amount of money. By the way, that tells you the difference between somebody who wants to be focused on momentum versus maintenance or mastery. So, guys, help me spread the word. If you know anything, if you know anybody that's looking for a speaker, know anybody that's looking to bring somebody like me for 3 hours in to come in and do a masterclass, I would love to do that. And then let's make it happen. It doesn't have to be real estate, by the way. Just business leaders. So, friends, hold on. Let me see what I got in the comments over here. Yeah. Yep. Well, guys, it's been another night of Spencer Uncensored. I didn't say anything crazy. I'm looking forward to helping you guys and continue to move forward. Get the word out. Send them to spencercombs.com. Send them to, bring them here to the group. This is a private group. And if you're not already in the HQ, then we probably should talk. So, with all that being said, y'all have a good night. Keep well. Keep moving forward.